Mayo Experience UFC Gdansk DraftKings picks. In preview, we're going to do the quick version right now. I'm here with Cody Saftic of the Fight Network. But if you subscribe to the Pat Mayo Experience audio feed on iTunes, Stitcher, Audio Boom, Google Play, or Podomatic, you'll get a full fight-by-fight breakdown with comprehensive DraftKings picks. This is going to be the short version for those who just want to know who to pick, then move on. But if you're real fight fans, you're going to want to check out the Pat Mayo Experience with Cody Saftic and Paul Shaughnessy. Cody, what's up, dude?
Pumped up, Pat. No card last weekend, but prior to that, hit a couple decent little underdogs. Cody Stamen coming up with a big win over Tom Duquesnoy, and the Bobby Green one. I can't really pat myself. I can't pat myself on the back too much because A, he did not win, it was a draw, and B, he almost got knocked out in that first round. But all the same, he rallied back, he scored some good points, and so I'm happy with that. Let's keep the momentum going.
All right, so how we're going to do is break it up between the studs that you need to build your rosters around and a few flyers at the bottom to kind of pick and choose from if you want to make the salary work. So who's the dude or the dudette that you want at the top?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. I got some good plays, and the one thing is a lot of these people are debuting for the first time. So if you're looking at averages and how people have scored in the past, there's not really much of an indication of what you're going to get out of this. If you put the three studs and you put the three value plays together, it does fit on the same roster, and it doesn't look like a great team, but I think there's a lot of potential here. So let's start off with Marcin Held. His run in the UFC hasn't been so good so far. Polish fighter fighting in Poland, so that's going to be at least somewhat of a benefit to him. This guy was a Bellator standout. The reason why I like him is he's very, very, very aggressive on the submission. You look at his entire Bellator run. The guy just finesses people with the grappling exchanges. I mean, he's a stud on the ground, black belt, used to be Joanna and Jacek's BJJ coach, just to give you an idea of how good this guy really is. But he just really hasn't succeeded to the level that people thought that he would in the UFC. He comes in, most notably his loss to Diego Sanchez was just putrid, and it's a fight that you're fighting in Mexico. The guy kind of runs out of gas. He showed off improved striking in that fight, just inability to knock out a guy like Diego Sanchez. It ends up being his downfall. The grappling exchanges don't go his way. His last fight, it's going his way. Things are going good. Round 1, held, baby. Round 2, held, baby. Round 3, no idea why he decides to just roll for an inverted heel hook and gets knocked out with a knee to the face. It was a terrible outcome. The thing is if you look at even the fight with Joe Lozon, a fight that he should have won, he shows glimpses of promises all along the way, just not really able to tie it together. That's why, even though he's 0-3 in the UFC, they've decided, hey, he's worth keeping, at least because we're going to Poland. Let's give him a winnable fight. This is a winnable fight. I think he goes out there. I know he's $9,400, but people are going to look at the fact that he's 0-3. They're going to look at the fact that he averages 44 points per performance, and they're going to say, Held? No thanks. I'm going to give him a shot here. I'm going to think he gets that leg lock or the submission at the very least. The guy's very opportunistic when he goes for it, backed up against the wall in front of a hometown crowd. Let's say Marcin Held gets the job done. If we're looking for other expensive plays, Warlley Alves. Warlley Alves is a front runner. This guy has got a fantastic guillotine choke. Not much outside of that. But he's a finisher, Pat. This is a guy that goes out there. And, I mean, even just look at finishing a top-level talent, a guy like Colby Covington. Colby Covington does not get finished. Colby Covington is a guy that a lot of people are looking at a potential title challenger down the road. If he fights Warlley Alves 10 times, I honestly think he wins, 9 or 8, probably 8 or 9 of those times. But with Warlley Alves, there's always that what if, and that's his submission game. And once again, when you're looking at the fact that he's taking on a short notice replacement, a guy that's literally coming off the regional scene, has not fought in almost a year, is just jumping off the sidelines. Why? Because he's a local guy and they need someone last minute. You're going to jump into the fire against a Warlley Alves who's upset and is fired up and is motivated. I'm looking for that quick submission. Same thing with Held. We get some quick submissions here, I'll be very happy.
So
Warlley Alves, 9,200.
So you got two guys that you think they're going to get the quick finish. Is there a third?
Yeah, well, Adam, and I'm probably going to butcher the name here, but it's a
card full of...
Wazorczyk? Adam Wazorczyk?
Well, when you're in Gdansk, you're going to have some names you can't pronounce.
Yeah, I know this is the mini version, so I'm going to try to keep this really quick. But Anthony Hamilton pretty much has no chin. The last time we were talking about him, we actually picked Daniel Spitz, who is his opponent, who nobody was high on, was a great value play. I think he was like $7,600. And we distinctively talked about the fact that if Anthony Hamilton gets hit even one time, he's probably going to fold. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, the guy is pretty much a cheap tent. He just folds so unbelievably easy. So I got to assume that he gets hit again here. He announced his retirement after the Spitz fight. He said, you know what? I'm done. He even realizes he can't take the punches anymore. He's an older guy. He's a heavyweight. Why subject yourself to this? Also, he realizes, I'm going to get cut. I don't want to go back to the regional scene. Let's just call it a day. It's been a good run. He retires. Oof, we got a short notice replacement. We need somebody. Who can we get? Who can we get? Hamilton. You want one last shot? And he's getting one last shot. The one thing I'm going to say, is he's 2-0 when he's fighting Polish guys, right? He beat Damian Grabowski. He beat Daniel Malanchuk. Maybe Polish guys don't exactly do good against Anthony Hamilton. But we're going to give Wojciech the benefit of the doubt. We're going to think that he lands something. He's also got a pretty decent submission game. With Anthony Hamilton, you know what he's going to do. He's a very big body. He's got decent wrestling, and he wants to just press you up against the cage. But if you can land those shots, make him pay, I mean, you can't bet on Anthony Hamilton at this point in time. And I have to assume for $8,600, if you're looking for first-round finishes, especially on a GPP where you're willing to take a little bit of risk, this is your guy.
All right, anyone at the very bottom that we should look at?
If you're looking at people at the very bottom, you can go all the way to the very, very bottom, and you end up with Jody Escobel. Now, bear with me on this. If you're playing a GPP, I could see the reasons why you would try to avoid her. Her getting a win over Carolina is probably going to be very difficult. Her getting a finish over Carolina would be very, very difficult, although there are paths to victory for her. But I'm looking at this price tag for $6,700, especially in a cash game. Yeah, I think this is a good play. I say that because if you take Jody Escobel at $6,700, then you can pretty much afford everything else you want. And that is definitely very important because there's a lot of good plays on this card and a lot of potential for these quick finishes. But Jody Escobel's got one thing going for her. She's Keith Jardine's wife. All jokes aside, she is Keith Jardine's wife, but she's durable, man. I mean, she's been finished once in her career. It was back in 2013, and since then she routinely goes the distance against tough fighters.
And loses.
But she's coming off a win, obviously. This is her UFC debut. She fought for Invicta FC, which is the premier female organization in the world, the women's organization in the world. And I just feel like she's in a point in her career where she's training at Greg Jackson's full-time. She's got very good game planning, very good coaching around her. She's short, she's stocky, she's durable. She can go out there and she can maybe even just keep the fight competitive. Use some of these skills to her advantage. When you look at Carolina's a girl that sky's the limit for. I mean, you look at her price tag on here, it's subjective of she's going to get a quick finish. However, it's important and worth noting that she's lost her last 2 fights, and even though it's apples and oranges when you look at the talent that they're fighting, she has lost her last 2 fights. And in her last fight in particular, people are really giving her a legitimate chance against Claudia Gadelha. She gets taken down. She appears to be a fish out of water as soon as she gets taken down, even though she's good on the ground, and Claudia is a BJJ black belt and former world champion at BJJ. She gets submitted rather quickly. And that's when it starts to realize, okay, Carolina's getting a little bit older. She was right at knocking at the door for a title shot. Her versus Joanna Jędrzejczyk, 2 Polish fighters, 2, big, popular fighters. That could headline a card in Poland and do some big numbers. That's what the UFC's trying to position her for. But she's got to beat Claudia. She fails miserably against Claudia. Her fight prior to that, same thing. She just comes up short. When I look at the fight against Escobel, I think to myself, she's not really a finisher, Karolina Kowalkiewicz. Not really a finisher. Jody Escobel, not really a finish either. So this fight's more than likely going to go the distance. And if it goes the distance, Escobel's going to rack up some points. She's not going to get finished. For $6,700, I'll take the 20, 30 points I hope to get out of her. And there is most definitely a possibility that Greg Jackson and her fantastic coaching staff tell her, Jody, this girl's weakness is on the ground. She's got a great gas tank, but her weakness is on the ground. You're bigger. You're stronger. Take her down. Get the takedown points, which is DraftKings. They don't really care about takedown points. But get the takedown. It'll yield Cody some points. And all the same, grind this girl. Grind this girl. It'll be hard to get the decision in front of the Polish crowd, no doubt, but you can beat her. There are ways to beating her. And I feel for that, I'm willing to take the risk on the $6,700, especially if it's a cash game.
Is there any sort of like GPP flyer in like the low $7,000 areas that you can think of that could be a quick finish?
It's going to be tough, but the 2 other flyers that I'm like Darren Till. He's in the main event, $7,700. Now, Darren Till, rightfully so, should be the underdog to Donald Cerrone. And Darren Till has not exactly shown a propensity to finish people in the UFC. I mean, he finished Wendell Oliveira, his first fight. Outside of that, I mean, he goes the distance. This is a 5-rounder. Maybe it changes some stuff. Donald Cerrone's a durable guy. But for $7,700, I don't mind that play. Also, if you're Donald Cerrone, you're 34 years old, about to turn 35, you've admittedly accepted your role as a gatekeeper, you are getting a little bit long in the tooth, you've lost your last 2 fights as well, only fought in 2017 twice. Normally he fights 5 times a year, so he is slowing down naturally, and it's really hard to get motivated for a fight like Darren Till. Why? Because he doesn't even know who Darren Till is, and he admittedly doesn't know who Darren Till is, but he takes the fight all the same. Now, the one thing is that he doesn't typically do good against southpaws, especially guys that have the body kick. And Darren Till literally only does 2 things. Straight left, body kick. So the possibility to hit this guy in the body, to hurt him, to weaken him, is certainly there. If he comes in less than spectacular shape, Darren Till has a shot. The thing is, because Darren Till hasn't shown the propensity to finish, it's going to be tough to get the finish over Cerrone. I get that. The other one is Ramazan Emeev. Ramazan Emeev is a finisher, but he's taking on Sam Alvey, who is so unbelievably durable. So once again, we like the guy. We see a good path of victory for him, but the path of victory more than likely ends up being defeat this guy by decision. $8,200 is a little bit expensive, but Sam Alvey, I hung out with Sam Alvey about 3 weeks ago, right? We had a 3-hour car ride together between Calgary and Medicine Hat. And I asked him, I was like, you're looking really big, man. What are you weighing? Like 215, 220? He's like 220. 220. Okay, he fights at 185 pounds. He takes this fight on short notice. He didn't have a fight booked then. He takes this fight on short notice. They need somebody last minute, so they call up Sam Alvey. Now I'm thinking to myself, this is going to be the biggest weight cut of his career because I've seen him and he's very, very large. This is going to be a big weight cut. And then he goes on record and says, this is going to be the biggest weight cut of my career. He knows it. This is going to zap him. It's going to drain him.
Is there a chance that he misses the weight and this fight doesn't go?
No, consummate professional. This guy is as professional as they get. However, and it's like we talked about with the Kevin Lee situation, when you drain yourself out that much to make weight, then there is a possibility that you can get caught. Whether you get submitted because you're just so tired that you're not willing to fight out of it, or you make a lapse of judgment and you put yourself in a bad case, or you get hit with that shot. This guy's got a cast iron jaw, no doubt about it. But we have seen guys like Derek Brunson bum rush him, hit him, and hurt him. So now we're sending him from Temecula, California, all the way to Gdańsk, Poland, right, on short notice, with a massive weight cut in front of him, taking on what is a killer. So the cards are just not aligning for Sam Alvey. I love Sam Alvey. Let me tell you, I respected the guy a lot, hanging out with him. This guy is as cool as they get. But cool doesn't pay the bills, right? You know, winning a good DraftKings team, that pays the bills. So I got to go with my boy Ramazan.
All right, Cody Saftic. Check him out on Fight Network and check him out on the Pat Mayo Experience, breaking down all the fights with Paul Shaughnessy. That'll be up on the audio feed a little bit later on. Also, do not forget that the UFC Gdansk starts at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time on Saturday. So if you have reservations in some of these DraftKings tournaments, it's an early start. You can wake up, you can watch some UFC. I know that's you always like it, right?
Oh, yeah, no, for sure. Plus, I'm supposed to go to a boxing event that night, so this is great.
You can stay up all night.
Fights during the afternoon, fights at night.
Yeah, stay up all night, you're going to be good to go. But don't forget that it starts that early, so you might miss out if you're trying to get into the tournaments looking for it at a regular time. Anyway, I'm Pat Mayo. Check out the audio version. I dare you. I'll see you next time.